are, by nature, explorers. The same curiosity that sends us to the stars at the speed of thought urges us to go there in reality. And whenever we make a great new leap, we elevate humanity, bring people and nations together, usher in new discoveries and new technologies. So remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet.
I'm going to be talking about Aurora in the UK, but the information I'm going to give you is going to be useful for just looking at the Aurora anywhere that's suitable in the world. So hopefully some good information for you all, and opportunities to ask questions throughout the talk as well. If I miss out the questions, then please ask at the end. The talk itself should be about 45 minutes long, depending on the questions. But like I said, this is a UK astronomy event, and I'm just waiting for folks to log in, and I'll get started very shortly. Hope you've all been having a good day. I've been out in the northeast coast taking photographs of puffins again. It's been quite a fun trip. I actually got photographs of puffins fighting, believe it or not, so that's pretty crazy. But this evening's about Aurora in the UK, part of the UK astronomy event. So I'm going to get started now. We're going to start off with our special little video, and off we go.
We are, by nature, explorers. The same curiosity that sends us to the stars at the speed of thought urges us to go there in reality. And whenever we make a great new leap, we elevate humanity, bring people and nations together, usher in new discoveries and new technologies. So remember to look up at the stars and not down at your feet.
Fantastic. I love the introduction. Well, let's get started. Let's talk about UK astronomy. So for the folks who are watching on my page, just a reminder of what's going on. This talk is supposed to be streamed live to UK Astronomy's group. There's a group of around 20,000 on Facebook. But because I'm using my page, it means that for the time that I'm live, my followers, so shout out to you guys, I can see a few names coming up there, you guys are able to watch as well. But this live won't be saved on my page. So for the time that it's live, you'll be able to participate. So UK Astronomy are based in Milton Keynes. It's founded by Ross and Frankie Hockham, and it's a fantastic UK-based charity. They hold outreach events, but also stargazing events around their area. And as you can see, they recently, about a year ago now, got funding for their own little, what they call a spacecrafter, which houses loads of their telescopes. As you can see here, amazing equipment to hold stargazing events, and of course I know that they're very excited to get started again. I myself am the resident photographer for UK Astronomy, and I'm looking forward to holding events in the north of England for UK Astronomy as well. All great events to inspire folks to look up in the sky. So the festival itself, as I said, it's a month-long thing. There's loads of different talks. I've already done, I think this is my third talk now. I think I've got either one or two more. I've lost track. But there's about 25 talks. And these are just some of the highlights. So the 23rd of April, Explore the Universe Live. I've got a feeling that I'm involved in that one. On the 25th of April, you're actually going to meet my friend Ugne, who's at Durham University, and she's a real astronomer, so all the research and using the big telescopes around the world, and you get an opportunity to ask her questions and things. Hi Mark. So Mark's just signed in there. How you doing, mate? All right, good to see you. But just in 2 days time, Ross, founder of UK Astronomy, he's going to be live at 6 p.m. On the Friday, and he's doing a guide to the night sky, a live event. So that's going to be really cool to enjoy that event. But let's get started with another quick little video. This is all about the Aurora and how amazing it would be to see the Aurora from the skies above. Okay, I've decided to skip that video. I don't know about yourselves, but I'm having some issues at the moment, some technical issues where the videos are lagging a bit. So we're not going to watch that video. I have put it up before, so the folks may remember it. It's photographs that when the International Space Station's been orbiting around Earth and picking up the beautiful photographs and imagery of Earth and the Aurora above the Earth, of course. So let me just tell you a little bit about myself. So, as I was saying, I'm the resident photographer for UK Astronomy, and I also host stargazing events at Twice Brood, which is based in Northumberland. So this is a photograph that I took of the pub itself. It's a hotel, has 18 rooms. It also has a brewery and obviously now an observatory. And last year, really excited because we launched our events. February the 27th was our launch night. We'd actually done about 30-40 events up until that point. We were in pre-launch phase, and we've officially launched on the 27th of February. And that was our last event for half a year, because obviously then the lockdown came, and then we got started, and we managed to fit in 43 events before the next lockdown. So we're now really excited because on May the 20th, we're expecting to reopen, and that'll be awesome. So we can welcome people back, and we are based within the International Dark Sky Park, but we also have purchased more telescopes so that groups that do come and stargaze with us, they get their own allocated telescope. So that's whether you are just stargazing only, or you want to stargaze and have dinner with us, or stargaze and have dinner and staying over. And that staying over is only from October, although you can book in like by yourself to stay over. The packages that we do, the special packages, don't start till October, but stargazing will be commencing from May the 20th. And as I was saying, we've bought loads of telescopes. So at the back here you can see we've actually got even more now. We've got another 5 telescopes more, so the whole of the area is just loads of scopes. Okay, so Northern Lights. This is about seeing the Aurora in the UK, and for the folks that have probably just getting started in realizing, first of all, you can see the Northern Lights, you may have realized it's quite a rare thing. And it's rare because you actually need a certain amount of things to line up in order for you to see the Aurora in the UK. And this is a photograph that I took in Northumberland, so just a few miles down the road from the pub, in fact, just about a year and a half ago. And this is a brighter event in Northumberland, a little bit longer now, back in 2017. But I think this one here is most recent. So this is only a few months ago in Northumberland. Now, you may have spotted something quite interesting with every photograph, and that is there's a couple of letters and a number, and that is KP and a number. Okay, so this is really important, and the objective of my talk tonight is, by the end of it, all of you will be Aurora chasers. You'll all know how to spot the Aurora, how to massively increase your chances of seeing it. Okay, this is what this is about. It's not about me telling you and showing you photographs that here's what you could have seen. I really want, by the end of this, for you all to be Aurora chasers. I'm going to try this video. I'm a bit hesitant of trying videos now with all these lagging, but let's see if this works. This was a little time lapse that I did in Scotland, and it was this was completely planned. It wasn't luck. It was completely planned. So it's playing now on my computer. I'm just waiting for it to catch up on my phone. I'm watching this live on my phone as well, just to see if there's any lagging. So there is a bit of lagging, but I mean, it is a smooth video, but we'll just have to make do with it. Let's. Okay, so this was a video that I took back in September of last year, and it was at the north of Scotland. It was completely planned. So if you guys are wondering, you know, should you, or is it possible to plan these sort of things? And the answer is absolutely yes, you can. And like I said, we're going to be talking about that this evening so that you'll never miss an Aurora event again. You know what? This talk is full of videos, I've just realized, and so I'm just going to have to skip this. Okay, right. We're going to start now. Hopefully that is the end of the videos. Unfortunately, I don't know what is going on. Normally these videos just play perfectly, but there's been a few issues with you know, how smooth the videos are, so never mind. It was just to give you all an idea of how amazing the Aurora can look like with the naked eye, and the movement is a time lapse of a period of time which would have been about an hour and 40 minutes condensed into a few minutes. So never mind. So this is a photograph that I took March of last year, this was actually my last trip to Iceland, and that's one of the things that I do is take groups of people to Iceland. So we went there and we saw amazing aurora, and it was all planned. I mean, these are all planned dates, specific dates, months in advance. And I guess what I really want to say to you is, whether you want to see the aurora in the UK or you want to see it, in Scandinavia or Canada or in New Zealand, don't leave it up to chance. Don't just decide one day to book to go to see the Northern Lights without any planning at all. Don't just sign up for with a tour guide says Northern Lights trip. Okay, don't do any of that, please. And my job tonight is to give you information so that when you do make those bookings, okay, you've done your own research, you've double-checked things, you've double-checked dates to make sure that it's the best time to go for you. Because the aurora fluctuates in strength. And this is the thing, is that a lot of people who go to see the Northern Lights, most of the people that I speak to who've seen the Northern Lights, they say to me, oh yeah, I've been, but it just looks kind of fuzzy white. It doesn't look anywhere as good as the photographs. And, people look at photographs of the aurora and they say, oh yeah, well I get it because your camera can see it, but we don't see it like that with the naked eye. And you're kind of right if you think that, because if you were to go on any particular night to see the aurora, say in Scandinavia or even North Scotland, then chances are it will just be a faint, fuzzy haze, almost cloud-like white haze. But if you plan things right and you go when the aurora is strong, when there is a solar storm, or when there's increased aurora activity, then your eyes can see the aurora as you're seeing it on this photograph. And this is, I feel, the thing that isn't explained enough. And I feel that the reason why is because if you're a tour guide or if you do trips to see the Northern Lights, or you do, special, aurora stayovers and these things, then of course people don't want you to know that there's actually only certain nights of the year that you want to go. It's not all year round. So hopefully that's given you enough interest to listen to more and find out, well, okay, what is the secret then? What's the magic? Well, first of all, I'm not going to go too heavy into it this evening, but the first thing is, why is the aurora there in the first place? What is it? Yeah. Now, we know what it looks like or what it can look like, but we don't quite, at this point of this talk, understand, well, why does it even happen in the first place? Aurora Borealis, or Australis, depending if it's the North or Southern Lights, is the result of the interaction between the solar wind, solar charged particles interacting with our atmosphere on Earth. That is what aurora is, summed up. So I'm sure you may have heard of this thing called solar wind, which is what the sun is constantly giving out in terms of radiation, these charged particles, and that's what it is. It's like a wind that just blows, radiates out from the sun. And most of the time, that's quite a stable kind of level. But what you want to do is, now and again, that level can increase. Okay? And there are patterns to knowing when this may get bigger, windier, and there are also some times when it can literally happen and we only get 2 days notice. So believe it or not, sometimes you can plan up to 6-7 months in advance intense aurora activity, and sometimes you only get a few days notice. So here's a photograph of the sun, and what you may notice is these sunspots. So I'm just going to get the cursor out. You can see these little things here. So you may have heard of sunspots. And again, I'm not going to go into it too much, but all you have to do is understand that sunspots is generally linked to a more active sun. So when the sun is more active, meaning that higher chances of stronger wind, higher chances of things called coronal solar flares or coronal holes, then there's more sunspots on the sun. So this is kind of what we're interested in, is sunspot activity. Here's a little animation. I hope it runs smoothly. But it's all to do with the fact that the sun rotates on its axis. So, for example, we know that our Earth rotates on its axis. It does it every 23 hours, 56 minutes, 4 seconds. Our Earth rotates once a day. The sun is a lot slower. The sun, on average, takes about 28 days. Now, you're probably thinking, well, why am I saying on average? Why is there no definite answer? And it's because the sun is actually made of gas. Okay, it's not a solid. So different parts of the sun actually rotates at different speeds towards the equatorial region. So I'm going to get the cursor out. These regions here, you see this equator regions? This part of the sun rotates faster than the polar regions. So it takes about 24 days for the equator or the equatorial regions of the sun to rotate once. But it takes on average 32 days for the polar regions of the sun to rotate once. This is called differential rotation, okay? Unlike a solid like Earth. So what's happening is that because the sun is made up of charged particles, and what happens is when it twists and turns, you start to get these magnetic field lines, okay? And these magnetic field lines, because of the differential rotation on the sun, they start to get entangled. So you can see these field lines kind of like those bar magnets that we had at school that have a north and south on it. These get twisted and tangled, okay? So all of these things can happen, and then that can disturb the flow of material, the flow of energy on the sun, and then you get things like sunspots, and eventually they get cut off and trapped, and then we get a solar flare. So like I said, I don't want to go into too much detail, but just fascinating to know that these huge prominences, these loops on the sun are huge. This is Earth to scale, gives you an idea just how big the sun is, and these loops and flares are on the sun. Again, making this nice and simple, nothing too complex, but the sun here is giving out solar wind in all directions. Now the great news is Earth has a magnetic field, and this is to do with Earth's core. So Earth has a huge iron core, and because the Earth rotates, and then because of electromagnetic fields, energy, we get something called a dynamo effect, and these field lines, which is our shield, which protects us from a lot of the solar wind. So this is fascinating stuff here, because Earth has a magnetic field. This is why we have things called the North and South Pole. A lot of the solar wind that comes from the sun is in fact deflected away, and it protects us. And it's actually one of the reasons why we still have an atmosphere. Mars, for example, does not have anywhere near, if at all, a magnetic field like Earth. And that's why Mars's atmosphere has been stripped away from the solar radiation. But thanks to this magnetic field, we are nice and protected. But what happens is, when the sun is emitting more solar wind, the shield that Earth has isn't able to fully protect it. And what happens is, charged particles from the sun, it goes into the weakest points of the shield, which are the polar regions. So what happens is, charged particles get funneled into the polar regions. It then interacts with Earth's atmosphere. So the atoms like oxygen and nitrogen and so on. And what happens is, the energy, sorry, one second guys, go back one. The energy from the sun excites the atoms in our atmosphere. For example, an oxygen atom, it gives it energy. The oxygen atom wants to settle down to its natural state, and it has to respond to the energy it's given, and it responds by releasing the energy it was given in a form of light. And oxygen in the form of light is green, and that's why we see a lot of green aurora. So different lights that we see is simply because the charged particles from the sun is interacting with different types of atoms in our atmosphere. I hope that makes sense, guys. So again, please let's not get too much detail. Let's just simplify things a little bit. So we talked about this strengthening solar wind depending on activity from the sun. Now, one of the ways that we can measure how strong the aurora is, and it's not the only way, but one of the most easiest ways, is using this thing called a KP index. So a KP is some bloke's name, and I've forgotten his name. It's not English, so I struggle with the pronunciation. But KP is the thing that we use, and it runs from KP0 to KP9. So when it's very, very strong and we have a KP9 storm, aurora storm, then we can see it very far south. So effectively what happens is most of the time the aurora wind is, or the solar wind, gives us a level of around KP2 or 3. Because the aurora sits at the polar regions, as it gets stronger, this oval moves further south. So kind of like, just again, thinking back to this analogy of like a wind, if you have a light breeze, it's just going to stay at the top, and the stronger and stormier it gets, the further south we can see it. All we have to know in the UK is when the aurora is approximately between a 5+, then on the UK shores we can start to see it. So a lot of the apps that we can get, and I'm going to be going through some of them with you on the apps and on the website, it can tell you what the current KP is, but it can also predict in advance what it's predicted to be. So, for example, this Saturday, it's predicted that it's going to be KP5, which means that for the folks in Scotland and in the north of England, there's a decent chance you might be able to see it this weekend. If it's a KP7 or an 8, then all of us should be able to see it in the UK, as long as it's clear, of course. Over to the folks in the States, this is the line, so it gives you an idea wherever you folks are. The stronger the number, the higher the number, the stronger the storm, and the better chance of being able to see it further south. And this hopefully explains to you why, for the folks in the UK, when you want to see the aurora, why do you go to Scandinavia? Why do we go to Iceland? It's because the aurora does not have to be so strong for you to see it further north. Yeah, but having said that, please understand there are still many other factors to take in. Time for some good news. There's something called the solar cycle, which is an 11-year cycle, and basically it's just down to observations of how many sunspots are on the sun. And remember, the more sunspots, the more active, and therefore the more likely we're going to see more aurora. And what they've done is, over like 140 years, they've charted and documented how many solar spots are there, and then work out there. They've realized there is this definite 11-year cycle. The last 5 years or so has been towards the dip of the cycle. So the aurora hasn't been particularly strong and it hasn't been particularly frequent. But the good news is, over the next 5 years, the aurora is predicted to get stronger and more frequent for all of us. So this information that I'm sharing with you now, hopefully will bode you well to use that to be able to spot the aurora for you. So here we are. I mean, this graph now needs to be updated, but you can see how it dipped in 2020, 2021, and now it's starting to increase again. So by the year 2025, we think the aurora is going to be nice and often, and we should be able to see loads of northern lights over in the UK. Actually, this graph is in the wrong place, isn't it? So this diagram shows you the idea of energy from the sun, which excites the atoms in our atmosphere, and then these atoms, they release light, and this is why we see the aurora. So very, very pretty thing. Different atoms being excited equals different colors, nitrogen and so on. And if you have a very strong storm, then the aurora, the energy is penetrated further into the atmosphere, and then you can see something like this, loads of different colors. Now, Some people may ask, can you see the aurora with? Can you catch it with your camera? Do you need a really good camera? I mean, this is a phone camera, and this was taken by a friend of mine in Norway. This is incredible. It's an absolutely incredible image. The fact that it was captured on a mobile phone, just absolutely amazing. This is a photograph that I took in Iceland in 2017. I've been to Iceland 10 times now. Can't wait to go back. I do Aurora trips. I take folks to Iceland and do Aurora chasing. I would love to go to Canada, New Zealand, and so on and so on. And this is another. I mean, I do so many. It's such a sad thing because I do so many different time lapses, and I'm not sure whether or not this plays all right. Let's see. So there is a bit of a lag, but never mind. And yeah, I guess they just here some more photographs that I've taken of the Northern Lights. One of my most favourite things to photograph, and I just can't wait. I was very sad to miss a lot of the Aurora over the last 6 months, but looking forward from the end of September to be able to see it again. Really can't wait. I would love to do things like Aurora Lives and everything else. And I never really thought about doing this, but I'd love to go and see the Aurora from space. Can you just imagine? Just be absolutely crazy. I mean, that for me would be it, just to see the Northern Lights from space. Absolutely incredible. Okay, so what do we need then to see the Northern Lights? Now, we've already said you need the Aurora to be strong. We need it to be a minimum of a KP5 in the UK. Now, I am just kind of keeping it quite basic, but generally as to start off with, you want it to be KP5. You need clear skies, and I cannot stress enough, it is clearly that is the most important thing above everything else. I get messaged all the time. I always say, hey guys, there's Aurora tonight, there's tomorrow night, and then I get messages asking me, is this place good? Is this place good? And my answer is always, is it clear? Never ever make the commitment of driving somewhere without even checking the weather forecast. I know it sounds silly, but it's just something that people tend to forget. And when I go to Iceland, actually, I'll be honest with you guys, I call myself an Aurora chaser, but actually I'm a clear sky chaser, because I am literally chasing wherever clear skies are, because I know if I can find the clear skies, I will see the Aurora, because I've done my homework. I'm only going to see the Aurora when I know it's strong. Worst case scenario, we get 2 days notice. Best case, we get months in the notice. Absence of light pollution. This is the other thing. If you find a location, you're thinking to yourself, I'm going to get a good vantage point looking to the north. I'm going to be on a hill, or there's no supermarket in the way, and there's no light pollution, no town north of me. This is what you need to do. Make sure there's no light pollution looking north. That's what you need to do. So there's a cool website which I recommend, which is spaceweather.com. I go on every day. This is a screenshot of just a few moments ago. And here we are. Look at this, guys. April 2014. So this is a cool website. It gives you all the information, the spacey stuff. On the left-hand side, we can see there's a little... So it's talking about a sunspot. There we are. Sunspot poses a slight threat for flares. So what we're wanting is for these things to explode and head towards Earth, right? And then we get loads of northern lights. And then it says chances of storms. This is what I was talking about for Saturday. On Saturday, there's a chance of northern lights in the UK. Okay, so fingers crossed that's what will happen. But here's the thing that we're really looking for. Further down the page, on the left-hand side, there's a little map It's called the Current Auroral Oval Map. You can click on it and it'll give you a bit more information on where everything is, how active the aurora is right now. But remember this KP thing? It's telling us what the KP is right now. So KP 1, no good for us in the UK. All right, if we're in the North Pole. In the last 24 hours, it's been a 2. Again, not good enough. We need it to be a 5. Further down, coronal holes. Solar wind flowing from the southern coronal hole should reach us on April 16th, 17th. So this is the thing that we're looking out for. We're looking out for things called coronal holes, which is where a material from the sun, if you remember that loop thing, instead of it looping back onto the sun, it doesn't loop back at all. It just goes out into space. And these are called coronal holes. And it's when these coronal holes are facing us, that's when we get increased solar wind. So these holes, if they're big enough, they can be fairly stable. And it kind of, because don't forget, the sun takes about 28 days to rotate. So approximately every 28 days, that coronal hole will come back if it's nice and big and stable. So when you have a big hole that's generated a lot of aurora, what you can do is plan 4 weeks later and you'll know it'll be facing us again, and another 4 weeks after that, and another 4 weeks after that. So really, really cool information that you can get from the website. Remember that auroral hole oval. This is a diagram of it, and it tells you where the aurora is active. Although this is not today's, this is February the 16th of this year. Loads of different apps we can use. Aurora Pro is an app that I use on my mobile phone. And here, have a look at this information. On the left-hand side, we've got current KP index. So this was actually just a few moments ago, KP 2.67. And you can click on things like forecast, best locations to see it right now. So if we click on forecast, it comes up. There you are, guys. April the 17th. 2 days time, good chance of northern lights in the UK. And it'll even give you more specific hourly information and even within the hour. So fantastic stuff you can use. This is called Aurora Pro. Very useful. Another app that you can use is Aurora Watch. And this is pretty handy for the folks specifically in the UK. It's just, I find it's very accurate. Well, actually quite accurate. And it'll tell you things like how active it'll be projected over the 24 hours or so. Now, this is the most advanced information site you can use for the aurora, and this is called the Glendale app. Lots of interesting information, lots of data, very, very much real time. And if you really want to get into it, then Glendale app, I highly recommend. If you really want to be a serious aurora chaser, just the information is outstanding. Just want to quickly mention as well, I am involved in quite a few organisations. I'm a fellow of the Royal Astronomical Society. I'm a delegate of the International Dark Sky Association. I'm actually also an ambassador for the International Space Station. But this is called Aurorasaurus. This is one of the most latest organisations I'm proud to be associated with, and it's Aurorasaurus, and it's a first and only citizen science initiative that tracks the aurora around the world. So going on the website, you can say, I can see the aurora, and we found that humans saying they can see it is more accurate than computer modeling and everything else. So data will give you much information to say, we think you can see the aurora where you are. But as an Aurorasaurus ambassador, or even just as a person, a member to help report where the aurora is, we found that to be pretty accurate. So aurorasaurus.org, you can check that out. This is the site, and there's me. There's only a handful of folks in the UK, and I'm one of them. So yeah, pretty cool to be part of Aurorasaurus. Guys, that is it. I hope that's been interesting. For the folks watching in UK astronomy, this will be saved on the website. It's also going to be on UK Astronomy's YouTube channel as well as a permanent video for the folks that want to rewatch any of this information. A lot of info to take on board, but I do want to say again, come and visit me here at Twice Brewed. We're very excited to restart our stargazing events May the 20th, and we are within the International Dark Sky Park. The skies here are just absolutely incredible, and using our powerful telescopes as well, we get to see the most amazing things out there. And also I am super excited to do Aurora talks here and photographing the Aurora from Twice Brewed as well. But for now, folks, thank you so much for joining. Take care of yourselves, guys, and I'll see you all soon. Bye bye.